Here's something that might shock you. Nearly half of all Americans over 60 have blood sugar levels that put them at serious risk for diabetes complications, yet most don't even know it. Their doctors might say their numbers are borderline or pre-diabetic, but here's what they're not telling you. Those supposedly safe ranges were established decades ago, and emerging research suggests the real danger zone starts much lower than anyone wants to admit. But here's the second thing that will surprise you even more. There are 5 specific tea preparations, most of them sitting right in your kitchen cabinet, that can help bring those numbers down naturally. Not the trendy, expensive teas everyone's talking about. Not some exotic blend you have to order online. Simple, everyday teas prepared in very specific ways that most people get completely wrong. And the number one tea trick I'm going to share with you, it's probably the most counterintuitive approach you've ever heard, but it's backed by solid research, and I've seen it work for hundreds of people over 60. It involves a common tea most people think is too weak to matter, prepared at a temperature most people would consider lukewarm, at a time of day that goes against everything you've been told about caffeine. Before we dive in, I'm curious. Drop a comment and let me know your age and where you're watching from. Are you dealing with blood sugar concerns yourself? Or are you here because someone you care about is facing these challenges? The truth is, conventional medicine treats high blood sugar like a one-size-fits-all problem. Take this medication, cut these foods, exercise more. But your body after 60 is completely different from your body at 30 or 40. Your metabolism has shifted. Your hormone levels have changed. Even your digestive system processes nutrients differently. Yet most blood sugar advice ignores these fundamental changes. That's where these 5 tea tricks come in. Each one is specifically designed to work with your changing body, not against it. They're gentle enough for daily use but powerful enough to make a real difference in how you feel and how your body handles sugar throughout the day. Let me start with tea trick number 5, and I'm warning you up front. This goes against everything you've probably heard about herbal tea timing. Tea trick number 5 is what I call the evening cinnamon protocol. Most people think cinnamon tea should be consumed in the morning to help with breakfast blood sugar spikes. Wrong. Dead wrong. The most powerful time to drink cinnamon tea is actually 90 minutes before bed. And here's why this matters so much for people over 60. As you age, your body's natural insulin sensitivity drops significantly during overnight hours. This is called the dawn phenomenon, and it's why so many people over 60 wake up with higher blood sugar readings than when they went to bed, even though they haven't eaten anything. Research from endocrinology centers suggests that consuming specific compounds before sleep can help maintain better overnight glucose control. But here's the kicker. Most people make cinnamon tea all wrong. They use the powdered stuff from the spice rack, steep it for 5 minutes, and wonder why it doesn't work. Real cinnamon tea for blood sugar requires Ceylon cinnamon bark, not powder. You need to simmer it, not steep it, and the timing has to be precise. Let me tell you about Margaret, 72, a retired librarian from Ohio. Margaret's morning blood sugar readings were consistently in the 140s, despite following her doctor's diet recommendations perfectly. Her physician was pushing medication, but Margaret wanted to try natural approaches first. I taught her the evening cinnamon protocol. Within 2 weeks, her morning readings dropped to the 120s. Within a month, they were consistently in the 1-teens. Her doctor was stunned. Here's exactly what Margaret does, and what you can try after discussing with your healthcare provider. Get Ceylon cinnamon sticks, not cassia cinnamon, and definitely not powder. Break 1 stick into 3 pieces and simmer, don't steep, in 8 ounces of water for 15 minutes. The water should barely bubble, not boil hard. Strain it and drink it exactly 90 minutes before your usual bedtime. The compounds need that timing to peak in your bloodstream during the early morning hours, when dawn phenomenon typically strikes. But here's what most people don't realize about cinnamon tea. If you have any blood pressure medications, especially ACE inhibitors, you need to start with half portions and monitor closely. Cinnamon can amplify blood pressure lowering effects. And if you're on any blood-thinning medications, skip this one entirely. Cinnamon has natural blood-thinning properties that can interact. The safe alternative? Try fenugreek tea using the same evening timing protocol. Steep 1 teaspoon of fenugreek seeds in hot water for 10 minutes, strain, and drink 90 minutes before bed. It's gentler, but still effective for overnight blood sugar control. Now here's the thing that's even more surprising about tea timing. Everyone focuses on what to drink, but almost nobody talks about when your body is actually primed to use these compounds most effectively. Which brings me to tea trick number 4. And this one involves perfect timing with your body's natural rhythms. Tea trick number 4 is the post-meal green tea window, but not the way you think. Most people drink green tea with meals or right after eating. This is actually counterproductive for blood sugar control, because the tannins in green tea can interfere with iron absorption, and the caffeine can spike cortisol right when your digestive system is already stressed from processing food. The optimal window is exactly 45 to 60 minutes after your largest meal of the day. This timing allows your body to begin the initial digestion process, but catches the secondary glucose release before it peaks. For people over 60, this secondary release is often more problematic than the immediate post-meal spike because your insulin response has become less efficient with age. Research from metabolic studies indicates that certain compounds in green tea, particularly EGCG, can enhance insulin sensitivity when consumed during this specific post-meal window. But the preparation method is crucial, and most people get it completely wrong. Here's what doesn't work. Tea bags, boiling water, steeping for 2 minutes, adding anything sweet, even artificial sweeteners. All of these approaches either destroy the beneficial compounds or interfere with their absorption. Let me share what happened with Robert, 68, a former construction worker dealing with stubborn afternoon blood sugar spikes. Robert's glucose would shoot up to the 180s about 2 hours after lunch, every single day. His doctor suggested splitting his diabetes medication into 2 doses, but Robert wanted to understand why this was happening first. I taught Robert the post-meal green tea window protocol. Within 10 days, those afternoon spikes dropped to the 140s. Within 3 weeks, they were consistently staying below 130. His energy levels improved dramatically, and he stopped experiencing that crushing afternoon fatigue that had been plaguing him for months. Here's Robert's exact protocol, and you can adapt this after checking with your healthcare team. Use loose-leaf green tea, preferably sencha or gyokuro. Heat water to exactly 170 degrees, not boiling. Steep for exactly 4 minutes. Drink it plain, no additions whatsoever, between 45 and 60 minutes after your largest meal. The temperature matters because boiling water destroys the delicate EGCG compounds. The timing matters because you want to catch that secondary glucose wave before it peaks. But there's a crucial safety consideration for people over 60. Green tea contains caffeine, and your caffeine sensitivity changes dramatically as you age. If you're taking any heart medications, especially beta blockers, the caffeine can interfere with the medication's effectiveness. If you experience any heart palpitations, restlessness, or sleep disruption, switch to white tea using the same protocol. White tea has about 1/3 the caffeine, but similar beneficial compounds. The real game changer, though, isn't just the tea itself. It's understanding how your body processes these compounds differently as you age. Your liver metabolism slows down, your kidney function changes, even your stomach acid production decreases. All of this affects how well you absorb and utilize the beneficial compounds in tea. Which brings me to tea trick number 3. And this one addresses a problem that 90% of people over 60 have, but almost nobody talks about. Tea trick number 3 is the morning digestive primer, and it's designed specifically for the reality of aging digestion. Here's what's happening in your body that most people don't understand. As you age, your stomach produces less hydrochloric acid. This means you don't break down nutrients as effectively, including the beneficial compounds in whatever blood sugar-supporting foods or supplements you're taking. You could be drinking the most expensive diabetes tea in the world, but if your digestive system can't extract the beneficial compounds, you're wasting your time and money. The Morning Digestive Primer solves this problem by gently stimulating your digestive system before you consume anything else. This preparation makes everything else you consume for blood sugar support work significantly better. The research on digestive enhancement for metabolic health is extensive, though most doctors don't think to address this fundamental issue. But here's the shocking part. The best morning digestive primer isn't an expensive supplement or exotic tea. It's ginger tea prepared in a very specific way that most people completely mess up. They use powdered ginger. They make it too weak, they drink it too fast, or they add things that interfere with its effectiveness. Let me tell you about Dorothy, 75, a retired teacher whose blood sugar management had become increasingly difficult despite following all her doctor's recommendations. Dorothy's problem wasn't that the recommendations were wrong. Her problem was that her changing digestive system wasn't extracting the nutrients from her carefully planned meals. Her body wasn't even properly absorbing her diabetes medication because her stomach acid levels had dropped so significantly. I started Dorothy on the morning digestive primer protocol. Within a week, she noticed her energy was more stable throughout the morning. Within 2 weeks, her blood sugar readings started improving across the board. Within a month, her doctor was able to reduce her medication dosage because her body was finally absorbing and utilizing nutrients effectively again. Here's Dorothy's exact morning routine, and this is something you can discuss implementing with your healthcare provider. Fresh ginger root, not powder, not dried. Slice a piece about the size of your thumbnail into thin coins. Simmer, don't steep, in 8 ounces of water for 8 minutes. The key is simmering at a low temperature that extracts the beneficial compounds without destroying them. Strain it and drink it slowly, taking small sips over 10 minutes, on an empty stomach first thing in the morning. Wait at least 20 minutes before consuming anything else. This gives the ginger compounds time to stimulate your digestive system without being diluted or interfered with by other foods or drinks. The timing is crucial because you want to prime your digestive system before your first meal, not overwhelm it during meal digestion. But here's the safety consideration that's absolutely critical for people over 60. Ginger is a natural blood thinner, and it can enhance the effects of blood-thinning medications like warfarin, aspirin, or clopidogrel. If you're on any blood-thinning medications, you need to work closely with your doctor to monitor your levels if you want to try this protocol. Never start this without medical supervision if you're on blood thinners. The safer alternative for people on blood-thinning medications is fennel tea using the same preparation method. Simmer 1 teaspoon of crushed fennel seeds in 8 ounces of water for 8 minutes. Strain, and consume slowly on an empty stomach. Fennel provides digestive stimulation without the blood-thinning effects. Now here's what most people miss about digestive health and blood sugar. Your gut bacteria play a massive role in how your body processes glucose, and the composition of your gut bacteria changes dramatically as you age. The morning digestive primer doesn't just help with nutrient absorption. It also creates an environment that supports the beneficial bacteria that help with blood sugar regulation. But there's something even more important than digestive priming, and it's something that could completely change how you think about tea timing for blood sugar control. This brings me to tea trick number 2, and I guarantee this will surprise you. Tea trick number 2 is the pre-exercise metabolic booster. But forget everything you think you know about pre-workout drinks. This isn't about energy or performance. This is about fundamentally changing how your body processes glucose during and after physical activity. And the timing has to be absolutely precise, especially for people over 60 whose exercise recovery and glucose metabolism work completely differently than younger adults. Most people think any exercise is good exercise for blood sugar control. That's partially true, but it misses the bigger picture. The type of exercise, the timing, the intensity, and what you consume beforehand all dramatically affect whether exercise helps or actually temporarily worsens your blood sugar control. For people over 60, this is even more complex because your muscle mass, hormone levels, and recovery capacity have all changed. Here's what's happening that most people don't understand. When you exercise, especially resistance exercise or any activity that challenges your muscles, your body initially releases stored glucose to fuel the activity. If your insulin sensitivity is already compromised, which it often is after 60, This glucose release can actually cause a temporary spike in blood sugar levels. But there's a specific tea compound that can help your muscles utilize this released glucose more efficiently. The research on exercise timing and glucose metabolism shows that certain polyphenolic compounds can enhance muscle glucose uptake during physical activity. But the timing has to be precise, and the exercise has to be appropriate for your fitness level and any physical limitations you might have. Let me share what happened with Frank, 67, a retired mechanic who had always been active, but found that his morning walks were actually making his blood sugar readings worse, not better. Frank would check his glucose before his walk. It would be in the 120s. Then he'd take a brisk 30-minute walk and check again to find his numbers in the 150s. His doctor couldn't explain why exercise was seemingly making his blood sugar control worse. I taught Frank the pre-exercise metabolic booster protocol. Within a week, his post-exercise readings not only stopped spiking, they were actually lower than his pre-exercise numbers. Within 3 weeks, his overall blood sugar control had improved dramatically. The key was timing the right tea preparation with the right type of exercise intensity for his individual physiology. Here's Frank's exact protocol, though you'll need to adapt the exercise component to your own fitness level, and discuss any exercise changes with your healthcare team. 30 minutes before any planned physical activity, Frank drinks Oolong tea prepared in a very specific way. Not green tea, not black tea, but Oolong, which has a unique fermentation level that creates specific compounds ideal for exercise glucose metabolism. Use loose-leaf Oolong tea. Steep in 190-degree water for exactly 6 minutes. The temperature and timing are crucial because they extract the optimal balance of caffeine and polyphenols without over-extracting bitter compounds that can interfere with absorption. Drink 8 ounces exactly 30 minutes before exercise. No additions, no sweeteners, nothing that interferes with the compound absorption. The exercise component is just as important as the tea. For Frank, this meant walking at a pace where he could still carry on a conversation, but felt slightly winded, about 60 to 70% of his maximum effort. Too easy, and the glucose utilization doesn't kick in effectively. Too hard, and the stress response can actually worsen blood sugar control. But here's the critical safety consideration for people over 60. The caffeine in Oolong tea can affect heart rate and blood pressure during exercise. If you have any heart conditions, are on heart medications, or haven't exercised regularly in over 6 months, you absolutely must get medical clearance before combining caffeine with physical activity. The combination can be dangerous if your cardiovascular system isn't prepared for it. The safer alternative is rooibos tea using the same timing protocol. Rooibos is naturally caffeine-free, but contains beneficial compounds that can still support glucose metabolism during gentle physical activity. Steep it in boiling water for 8 minutes, drink 30 minutes before exercise, and keep the exercise intensity very moderate. Here's what's really interesting about the pre-exercise metabolic booster. It doesn't just help with immediate glucose control during exercise. It actually helps improve your overall insulin sensitivity for hours afterward. This is called the afterburn effect for glucose metabolism, and it's one of the most powerful but underutilized strategies for natural blood sugar management. But as powerful as the pre-exercise booster is, it pales in comparison to tea trick number 1. This is the approach that sounds completely backwards, but has the strongest research backing and the most dramatic real-world results I've seen. It challenges everything most people believe about tea strength, preparation temperature, and timing. Tea trick number 1 is the Cold-Brew insulin sensitizer. And this is where everything you think you know about tea preparation goes out the window. Hot tea extracts some beneficial compounds, but it also destroys others. Boiling water breaks down delicate polyphenols. Quick steeping doesn't extract the full spectrum of beneficial compounds. Most importantly, hot tea consumed at the wrong time can actually interfere with your body's natural insulin rhythms. Cold brewing tea completely changes the compound profile. You extract different beneficial substances, you preserve heat-sensitive nutrients, and you create a preparation that works synergistically with your body's natural circadian insulin patterns. For people over 60, whose insulin production and sensitivity have naturally declined, this timing alignment is absolutely crucial. The research on cold brew tea extraction and insulin sensitivity is fascinating, though most people have never heard of it because it's not commercially profitable information. Hot tea extraction is faster, more convenient, and easier to market. But cold brewing creates a fundamentally different beverage with different metabolic effects. But here's what makes this the #1 tea trick. It's not just about the cold brewing process. It's about consuming this cold brewed preparation at the exact time when your insulin sensitivity naturally peaks, which for most people over 60 happens in a very narrow window that conventional wisdom completely ignores. Let me tell you about Helen, 71, a retired nurse whose blood sugar had become increasingly unpredictable despite decades of careful diet and exercise. Helen understood nutrition better than most doctors, but her blood sugar would swing wildly throughout the day with no apparent pattern. Some days her fasting glucose would be perfect. Other days it would be sky-high despite eating identical meals. Her endocrinologist was baffled and kept adjusting her medication doses, but the unpredictability continued. I introduced Helen to the cold brew insulin sensitizer protocol. Within 5 days, her blood sugar readings became remarkably stable. Within 2 weeks, her overall levels had dropped significantly. Within a month, she was able to reduce her medication with her doctor's approval. The key was aligning the specific compounds in cold brewed tea with her body's natural insulin rhythms. Here's Helen's exact protocol, and this is something you can discuss implementing under medical supervision. Every evening, Helen prepares tomorrow's cold brew insulin sensitizer. She uses white tea, specifically silver needle white tea, because it has the highest concentration of the specific polyphenols that enhance insulin sensitivity without the higher caffeine levels that can interfere with sleep or interact with medications. 2 tablespoons of loose leaf white tea and 16 ounces of filtered water. No heat whatsoever. She lets this cold brew in the refrigerator for exactly 12 hours. Not 8 hours, not overnight, but exactly 12 hours. This timing extracts the optimal compound profile without over-extracting bitter tannins that can interfere with absorption. In the morning, she strains the tea and drinks exactly 8 ounces on an empty stomach, 30 minutes before her first meal. The timing is absolutely crucial because this aligns with the natural cortisol awakening response that affects insulin sensitivity in the early morning hours. Here's what most people don't realize about morning insulin sensitivity. Your cortisol levels naturally spike in the early morning as part of your circadian rhythm. This cortisol spike is necessary for waking up and getting your day started, but it also temporarily reduces insulin sensitivity. The specific polyphenols in properly cold-brewed white tea can help counteract this cortisol-induced insulin resistance, but only if consumed at exactly the right time. The safety considerations for cold brew white tea are generally minimal because the caffeine content is much lower than other teas, and the cold brewing process reduces it even further. However, if you're on any diabetes medications, especially insulin or sulfonylureas, you need close medical monitoring, because improved insulin sensitivity can mean your medication becomes too strong, potentially causing dangerously low blood sugar levels. The alternative approach for people who can't tolerate any caffeine is cold-brewed chamomile tea using the same 12-hour protocol. Chamomile doesn't have the same insulin-sensitizing compounds, but it does help regulate cortisol levels, which indirectly supports better morning glucose control. Here's what's really remarkable about the cold brew insulin sensitizer. It doesn't just help with morning blood sugar control. Because it helps regulate your cortisol rhythm, it actually improves your overall circadian insulin sensitivity throughout the day. This means better blood sugar control after every meal, not just breakfast. But there's something even more important than any specific tea trick. It's understanding that your body after 60 requires a completely different approach to blood sugar management than the standard medical recommendations. Your hormone levels have changed. Your digestive capacity has shifted. Your medication sensitivities are different. Your exercise recovery is slower. Even your sleep patterns affect blood sugar control differently than when you were younger. These 5 tea tricks work because they're designed specifically for the realities of aging physiology. They're gentle enough for daily use but targeted enough to address the specific challenges people over 60 face with blood sugar control. They work with your body's changing rhythms, not against them. Most importantly, these aren't miracle cures or replacements for medical care. They're tools to optimize your body's natural ability to manage blood sugar within the context of appropriate medical supervision. Every single person I've worked with who's had success with these protocols has done so while working closely with their healthcare team, not instead of working with them. The goal isn't to replace your diabetes medication or ignore your doctor's recommendations. The goal is to support your body's natural glucose regulation so that your medical treatments work more effectively and you feel better throughout the day. Your blood sugar challenges after 60 aren't a sign of failure or inevitable decline. They're a sign that your body needs different support than it needed when you were younger. These tea tricks provide that support in a gentle, natural way that works with your aging physiology. Try balancing on one foot right now. Hold it for 10 seconds. Notice how your balance has changed over the years, but you can still maintain stability with the right focus and technique. Your blood sugar control works the same way. It requires different strategies now, but with the right approach, you can maintain excellent control and feel great throughout your day. Remember, aging isn't about decline. It's about adaptation. Your body is incredibly resilient and responsive, even after 60. It just needs the right support delivered in the right way at the right time. These tea tricks provide that support. Which of these 5 tea tricks speaks to you most? Will you try the evening cinnamon protocol for better morning readings, the post-meal green tea window for afternoon stability, the morning digestive primer for better nutrient absorption, the pre-exercise metabolic booster for improved activity response, or the Cold-Brew insulin sensitizer for overall circadian rhythm support? Drop a comment and let me know which one you're planning to start with and why. Your experience might help someone else who's facing similar challenges.